How's it going, everyone? Nerd Person Shooter here. I hope you all had a great 4th of July weekend. I hope you all still have your fingers and hands. So, before I start talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance as a series, I want to tell the people who are going to accuse me of clickbait that, that I used a raunchy photo to draw more viewers in, but that's not true because I'm putting the photo in right now for all you perverts who want to pause the photo and fap to something. Well, be ashamed because that also has my face in it. So here you go, assholes. That's actually in the game, by the way. That's actually a screenshot of a load screen in the Kutenberg region, the second region of the game. and I figured it'd make a good thumbnail. I mean, come on, that's funny. Anyway, for those of you who don't know what Kingdom Come Deliverance is all about, the first game came out in 2018. It was an action RPG, but it also had a lot of realistic, sort of like medieval survival aspects to it. It really was like a medieval survival simulator. You couldn't take that many hits before dying. You could die in like 2 hits. Or if you're overwhelmed and you're like fighting 2 or 3 people by yourself, you're probably gonna die because the game is really unrelenting sometimes and unforgiving at times. You could sprain a leg, or you could get cut during battle, and you can actually bleed out even if you had won that battle. And you can get your clothes dirty and bloody, and you gotta wash them to keep up your reputation in town. Because if you don't, you can get suspicious, and it just has all these sorts of kind of like I don't want to say realistic because it's still not like exactly realistic, but it has a lot of these survival mechanics in place. Now, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, when it came out, I loved it. Okay, I gave this game an 8, but on technical terms, it was not an 8. It was really, really buggy. Like, like I probably should have given it a 6 to be fair. Like, it was so buggy when it came out. But I gave it an 8 not only in good faith that they would fix all those bugs over time, but I also just really loved the idea behind the game. I loved the unique feeling of this game that no other action RPG really gave me. It was like medieval in the most accurate sense ever placed in a video game. There's no fantasy elements, no supernatural stuff to it. There were no zombies or dragons or demons. It was all just 100% a period piece of a game. So I gave it an 8 out of 10, even though it was a buggy pile of shit. I just loved the idea of it. It actually was still my favorite RPG of 2018. I even put it in my top 10 games of 2018. I really enjoyed it. Now, for the second one, which came out, I believe, late February of this year, it's basically more of the same, but at the same time, it is better in every way. First off, there's no major bugs in this game. There are a few minor bugs here and there, like missing animations for NPCs. Sometimes when they walk, they'll just like float there instead of like walking. That happened a couple times. But there were no real like major bugs that halted quest progress. There really weren't. I was able to complete every main quest and every side quest. Granted, I didn't play this until like 4 months in, so maybe there were a few when it came out, but by the time I got to it, there were no major bugs at all. And this is a huge game. This game, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, is roughly twice the size as the first game. To do every single main quest line and every side quest I can find, and granted, I did miss a couple timed quest lines, because like the first game, this also has some missable and time-sensitive quest lines that you should get going on as soon as you obtain those quests. I missed a couple of them. And even still, exploring every nook and cranny in this game doing every activity, or maybe not every activity, but a little bit of every activity at once, doing every quest line and stuff, and doing every task, and just exploring all the optional places and enemy camps. I played this game for roughly 150 hours. That is the most time I ever spent on a single game since Elden Ring 3 years ago. And I was just immersed the whole way through. Like, I was living in this game. I was not living in reality. I was living in this game. I played this game extensively, nonstop. I had no life these past 3 weeks. I was just fully invested in this game. This is the most immersive game I've played so far this year. It's a very hard game at first. During those first 10 or 15 hours, I could not kill a single guy, a single bandit. I could kill a couple wolves, but that's a little bit different because they don't block. But the combat in this game can be very, I don't want to say frustrating, but it's very, very challenging, at least during the early hours of this game. And so, how I went about it is I just explored as much as I can without engaging in combat during those opening hours. Granted, the first few hours of the game is a slow burn, and it's kind of linear, But when the game opens up, when you're in that first town, basically the whole region opens up to you. The whole first region, the Trotsky region, opens up to you, and you can just explore everywhere, and just get yourself in a lot of trouble, a lot of danger, and you can just find so much stuff. And you can upgrade your stats. The leveling system in this game is very similar to the leveling system in Elder Scrolls, where you level up by leveling up different talents, I should say, like alchemy, blacksmithing, survival or strength and stuff. You know what's funny? Even when you're over encumbered, you're overburdened, you're carrying too much stuff. When you're walking and carrying that stuff, you can actually increase your strength. That's actually a really good way of increasing strength. Collect as much stuff as you can early on, and then just walk to the nearest town, and I guarantee you'll level up your strength like 2 or 3 times. And that helps in the long run. So if you're having trouble fighting people early on, just do everything else that you can. You can sell a bunch of stuff that you don't need. There are a bunch of treasures that you can find. You can sell them, and you can use that money to buy better weapons, better gear. But most importantly, you can use that money to buy skill lessons from skill teachers, and that kind of boosts your stats permanently in a very easy way that doesn't require you to actually fight. So I recommend buying lessons from skill teachers, and then over time you're going to find fighting enemies a lot easier. That's how I did it. That's how I managed playing this. So I think that's the best way to not struggle in this game. But you're still going to struggle a bit. The combat in general is pretty tough. I never talked about the combat. It is a very strategic combat system. We gotta block enemy attacks in their appropriate direction, and then try to hit them in the direction that they're not guarding in. But the key to this game is basically blocking and counterattacking, blocking and counterattacking, and keep doing that until you finally hit them. But by the time that happens, your stamina is almost already depleted because you've been blocking and attacking the whole time, trying to hit them once. It sounds repetitive, I know, and it can be at times. But your stamina does improve over time, so you do get more and more stamina as you go. So there's that to keep in mind at least. There's also an optional challenge where if you beat this guy in a duel, he'll teach you a very crucially important skill. It's called the Master Strike, and you basically attack an enemy in the opposite direction of where they're going to attack you, and you basically not only like push off their attack, but you just do a cheap shot and attack them and take a lot of health off of them. I really love that. That saved my skin. I'm not even sure I could have beaten this game or at least done every quest line without that Master Strike. It was the most helpful thing in this game, was the Master Strike. It can like bypass almost every fight, and make every fight basically trivial. But even then, if you're trying to fight 4 people at a time, they're going to surround you and you're going to get hit from all sides, even from behind. This game does not fuck around. This game is not ashamed of being unfair, because I imagine it's like that in real life, where you're getting bullied by a bunch of assholes and they're just hitting you from all sides and they want your shit, man. These guys are not good guys. They're bandits. They're thieves. They can fight dirty, if not dirtier than you. So, the way to win is to use every cheap trick, every dirty trick in the book. So, at the end of the day, I love the combat system. This is actually one of my favorite combat systems in any action RPG. I love the story. I love how there are different branching paths that occur, different circumstances that happen based on your choices. You can kill everyone in this game, and that can alter the story significantly as well. I love the law system overall. Not all of it, but I love most of it. Where, like, if you're sneaking in someone's house, a private area, so to speak, and it lets you know that you've entered private areas pretty much, and it lets you know when you're trespassing in a really private area where you shouldn't belong. The game does let you know, but if you get caught in a private area, that resident is not only going to escort you out, but is also going to check to see if they have any valuables missing. That is brilliant. And if they find out that there's stuff missing, they're going to call the guards on you, and you're going to have a bounty on your head. And you're going to either have to pay the fine, or get imprisoned, or just leave the town until your bounty clears. Which is what I do every time I get caught. Like, I don't want to pay or get imprisoned. I don't want to take responsibility for my actions. I stole a lot in this game, I'm not going to lie to you, but it was really fun. Now, if you're in a private residence and you steal and don't get caught, like, and there's no witnesses to you being in there, 95% of the time, nothing's going to happen to you, because nobody saw you enter or leave. So, nothing happens to you. But, and here's where some of my complaints for the game come into play. There were a couple times when I was really careful, breaking into an area at nighttime, stealing something, leaving, even going as far as to close all the doors to make it look like there was no one ever in there, like those items just disappeared out of thin air. There are times when I was really careful, and I would leave the town to do something else, whatever, and all of a sudden I would have a bounty on my head. I'm like, I didn't do anything that had any witnesses. Like, does the game just forget that system's in place? Like, is it like Grand Theft Auto, where, like, you steal, like, a car from a parking lot when there's no one looking, or you kill someone else when there's no one around? You still get, like, a 1 or 2 star thing, in Grand Theft Auto. There are times when this game feels a little video gamey, like the game kind of forgets of its own rules. There was a time when I knocked out a priest, and he had a skill book on him. That's why I knocked him out. I looked up all the skill book locations online. So the priest had one of them. I knocked him out when there was no one looking, robbed him of his book, and then left, went to my own private camp, read the book, and then I went to bed, and then the next morning, there was a bounty on my head. So it's like the person that I choked out knew that he was Henry. So yeah, the vast majority of the time, the law system works fine. Sometimes it doesn't. So that's one complaint I have. Another complaint I have is, because this game takes a lot of realistic liberties in hand, there's a lot of things that you aren't allowed to do, at least at nighttime. Or else you're going to get caught by a guard or something, or they're going to try to kick you out, or they'll try to arrest you for doing, like, A lot of shit that you usually do during the daytime at nighttime. Walk around without a torch? Nope. Go to jail. Try to do blacksmithing at nighttime? Right to jail, right away. Try to do alchemy at night? Also jail. This game has the best law system in the world because of jail. Now, I don't mean to quote the Venezuelan guy from Parks and Rec, but that's kind of what it feels like at times. The game is really strict during nighttime, and I don't like that. I know it's realistic, like back in the Dark Ages, they used to have like curfews and shit, but come on, man. So you gotta pass the time either by waiting or sleeping, and at daytime you'll be able to do those activities again. Even though Henry, the protagonist, has grown on me, he had a good sense of humor in this game. I still found him a little, I don't want to say uninteresting, but kind of like bland. I mean, he's okay, but he could have been a bit more compelling of a protagonist. There are times during the story when he has nightmares, and his past tends to haunt him, like his dead parents who were killed in a raid, and that's still in his mind. There is some character development to Henry, but he's still kind of like dopey. Like he's still kind of like a medieval dork. And, depending on how your stats look, a lot of people aren't going to be persuaded by him because there's speech checks, depending on, whether it's charm or intimidation or whatever. And also it depends on what he's wearing, too. They can alter those stats. And, half the time it's just like the things that he's saying, even when he tends to persuade people, I don't buy it as a player because to me he still kind of comes off as a bit of a loser. Probably the biggest complaint I have about this game are the activities, the mini games. Now, I don't hate all of them. I actually do love a couple of them. Like, I love the smithing mini game where you forge your own weapons and stuff. And I love how you get to like heat up each section of the iron, and then you got to go to the anvil and strike it evenly, not only on one side, but you got to flip it over on both, and then strike them evenly, and then once the heat cools down, you got to put it back in the forge. I do that a couple times, and I really love it. I love the smithing in this game. I also really like sharpening weapons at the grindstone. Really cool aspects. I love how this game goes really in depth in some of these mini games. The alchemy, though, I like the idea of the alchemy, but I just can't really get my mind around it. There's a lot more steps to alchemy than there is in blacksmithing. In blacksmithing, you kind of just focus on one thing at a time in blacksmithing, right? You're either at the forge or at the anvil, But with alchemy, it's like you gotta boil the water or boil whatever base, whether it's wine or water or whatever, and then choose the correct amount of the correct type of ingredients to use to put in the cauldron, and then you gotta like mix up another ingredient with a mortar and pestle, and then put that in, and then do the whole hourglass thing. It's too much for me. I get that it's realistic in that sense. Like this game is unapologetically real in terms of like the process of actual drink brewing back in the day. But it's just too much for me. I'm not going to say it's a bad mini game, but it's just a little too complicated for me. Maybe if I had like a piece of paper while playing it and just like looking at the piece of paper, I'm like, okay, what steps do I have to do? Remind me so that I don't like over brew the potion or, or boil it too much and ruin the potion. Maybe if I had some like piece of paper written down while playing it, I would. But I didn't get engaged into the alchemy system that much. I wasn't a fan of the lockpicking system or the pickpocketing sections, mini games, I should say. Even though I did overall get used to them, and I even became good at the lockpicking system. But I didn't like how the R stick worked. You gotta like keep the R stick in the sweet spot while rotating the pin or the lock or whatever. And early on, it's pretty frustrating. Same with the pickpocketing section. But But once you get better at thievery, you up your skills in thievery. Once again, there are skill teachers out in the world to help you with that. It does get a little bit easier when you combine the thievery and speech. The thievery and stealth skills. Now, what I absolutely hate, probably my least favorite thing about this game, is the dice game. All I'm going to say is it is rigged as fuck in the enemy's favor. I played more than a dozen games and I won once with selecting loaded die. Like, I always use cheated dice to play, and I still lose. Like, as in, like, I'll bust during, like, the first or second round, I'll bust on my turn. And then the other enemy will just, like, score almost a perfect game. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this shit up. I'm not ranting. The dice system in this game is fucked. And, yeah. I beat it once. I beat it once at the beginning. And that's it. So fuck the dice game. And you know what? Now that I think of it, I don't like mini games in video games. Like, no matter how amazing the game is, I just don't like mini games. Like in Fallout New Vegas, one of my top 10 favorite games of all time is Fallout New Vegas. I never ever liked the Caravan mini game, the Caravan card game in Fallout New Vegas. I never got into Gwent in Witcher 3. I didn't like almost every minigame in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I didn't like any of the gestural. The fuck was it called? The gestural beaches in Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. And I find that it's always the best games that have the worst fucking mini games too. Like all the games I've just stated, those are all like 9, 10 out of 10 video games. And they all have mini games that I don't like. But thankfully, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, most of those games didn't have mandatory mini games, except for maybe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So yeah, I think maybe I shouldn't chastise this particular game. It's just me. I just don't like mini games in video games where the video game itself is so amazing that I don't want to get bothered in mini games that aren't really up to par with the rest of the game. So it kind of adds to the frustration. It makes me enjoy the otherwise fantastic game a little bit less. What else there is to say about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? I already said that it's basically better than the first one in every way. It's more accessible. There are more things to do. There are more things to find. There are easier ways to level up and get stronger than there is in the first game. It's easier overall than the first game, but it can still be pretty challenging. I do like how helpful your dog is in combat and Mutt, where he can distract enemies. If you're fighting like 2 or 3 enemies at a time, your dog can distract them, but he can get chased off if he takes a big hit. He'll whimper and he'll run off for the rest of the battle, and you have to fend for yourself. What I don't like about Mutt, though, and keep in mind, by the time I finished the game, I had maxed out my houndmanship. Is that the name of the skill? It's basically the statistic of how good your relationship is with your dog. It was maxed out at 30. You know, I gave him food on a regular basis, and he would still bark constantly, incessantly, like woof 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 woof. I'm like, Mutt, shut up. Thankfully, you can tell him to shut up by holding the triangle button. You can be like, Mutt, come here, heal, and then he'll shut up for like 10 seconds, and then he'll bark nonstop again. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, Mutt? There was one time when I had to track down a person, and I found a piece of clothing. You can actually get your dog to like track by like smelling the scent of a piece of clothing to track a person, which is really awesome. But there was one time when he like went the complete opposite way, and I had to look online to find the person I was looking for, and it was like the complete opposite direction of where the dog was fucking walking. So yeah, the tracking is a little bugged, I suppose. I also don't like how you can only feed him meat. I don't know why the developers think that dogs are carnivores. They're not. Dogs are omnivores. I feed my dogs all types of shit all the time. Like I'll eat like a bread roll, and my dogs will be like, laying, sitting there waiting for me to drop a piece. Like dogs eat everything. Like why does it have to be meat that I have to feed Mutt? What? Oh, one of my two complaints. I remember my two complaints very vividly because I made skits about them in my review of the first Kingdom Come game. Is that one in the first game I had trouble. You have trouble getting through bushes. Like you couldn't really sneak through bushes in the first Kingdom Come game. In the second one, you can go through right easily. So they fixed that, and they also fixed the amount of food that he needs to eat. In the first one, he needed to eat a lot more, or at least that I remember correctly. I didn't need to eat quite as much to fill his energy or nourishment bar, or nourishment for food, energy for sleep. And I didn't need to do that. That didn't feel as pushed on the player as much as it was in the first game. I remember in the first game, you could get an infected leg a lot easier. Not so much in this one. So it is a bit more lenient in terms of survival aspects. This one is definitely easier. But I would say, since it's been 7 years since Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 came out, I'm sure it's a great game as well. So I actually recommend playing through both of them. But especially the second one, This game didn't do the best job of recapping the story of the first one, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'll let you decide, but maybe try the first one first, and then if you don't like it or if it's too hard, then maybe look up a story recap and then play the second one. It is just better in every way. The first one I gave an 8 out of 10. This one I have to give a 9. It is a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It is definitely the second best game of the year I played so far. Expedition 33 is still my game of the year just because I think that even though this game is greater than some of its parts, I think that Expedition 33 was more impressive on separate accounts. Like the story, I think, was more interesting in Expedition 33. I thought the music was a lot better in Expedition 33. The characters are better in Expedition 33, and so on. But, however, I think I definitely was immersed more in this game, if that counts for anything. So, yeah, guys, what a game. That was a hell of a video game. This is probably the longest thoughts video I ever given out, but I had a lot to say about it. So, even then I'm probably missing a few things. But that basically covers it. So, yeah, definitely highly recommend Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And the first one, as long as they patched all the problems with that game. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Coming up, I should have a Doom the Dark Ages thoughts video out for you guys. That should be no more than half as long as this thoughts video, because that game's probably only like 20 hours long. Yeah, I spent like 150 hours on this shit, man. It was good shit. Kingdom Come 2 was awesome. So yeah, stay tuned, and again, thank you for watching.